to what's now provided in the public sector. Put that in plain English. Basically, you can't buy in the private sector, even with this body sending money to the private sector, the kind of education that the average child from Murphy to Manio can get in the public schools. We don't need to bleed off money from the public treasury to help the private schools. Private schools been around a long time. The one I went to up in Massachusetts in 1636, they're doing pretty good. Duke is doing pretty well. Ravenscroft in this very town where I am, doing really good. Look like a college up there. Very nice place. So they don't need our help from the treasury. But the public schools, where I dare say everybody sitting up in here probably went, given when I scanned the body, looks like we all probably went to public schools. And they did us pretty good. Look at us, we're right here. They did me well. Well, we don't need to bleed off money to send to the private sector. We need to strengthen the public schools, where most people's kids are gonna still be going for probably as long as I'm walking around. So that's one thing I wanna make clear. Now the second point is, the public school system has shown us over the years that they're the greatest vehicle for raising the status of everybody. The poor people's child, the rich people's child, the middle class child. They can go and mix and mingle and be with people of all races, all creeds, all colors, all religions. And that's who should get our money. The private boy is going to do fine. And if you choose, you have a right to choose. Of course you do. But why drag the public money away from the public schools where we already racing for the 50th spot? Why not send the money and help the public schools? I had a couple guys come by my office, real smooth lobbyists, talking to me about private schools. And one of them was a friend of mine. I said, buddy, I said, man, y'all doing well. You don't need our money. Private schools doing really well. So you need to be sending this money. We need to strengthen our public schools so that everybody's child will have a good shot and we can raise our level. And I read that we are somewhere between 43rd and 46th on teacher pay. So we need to be sending this money to the public schools where everybody's child can get the benefit. The private sector will always do well. They will always do well. But the day is long and far away where we can send, if that's your choice, we can send enough money over to the private sector where the regular kid can go. Because I know in my town, where you pass this bill or not, they're going to still be going to public schools. And it's not the Wakes and the Mecklenburgs and the, who else should I throw in there? Forsyths and the Durhams, these big urban areas that need this money. But I suggest strongly, I don't want to pick on anybody's county, but out in the rural areas, the public schools still need the money. All of it. And to kind of start splitting up the treasury and sending money to just bleed and bleed and bleed and bleed doesn't make any sense to me. None, zero, because they don't need it. But to figure, hey, we got some friends in the legislature, just shoot us some money, we'll take it. Of course they'll take it. But I remain unconvinced, totally unconvinced, that a child in a rural area or some area where it needs the money will be able to pay for, even with this money, a quality education equal to the quality education that child will get in the public school. Somebody refute that with some data. I dare say you cannot.
Mr. Speaker, can I ask the representative a question?
Representative Jones, does the gentleman yield to a question from the gentleman from Iredell, Representative McNeely?
I absolutely will yield. Yes,
He
sir.
yields.
Representative Jones, I want to ask you the question is, I understand that you went into public school and you went to Harvard and Harvard Law. And the question, I guess, is, would you have been able to maybe achieve this if you were not an athlete or a minority or any of these things, but you were a student trapped in a school that the slowest, you know, in the wild we'll say the slowest gazelle does not survive, but yet the herd moves at that pace. So the brightest child sometimes is held back. And don't we
point of order.
Gentleman may state his point of order.
Okay, I'm hoping I wasn't the only one that got shocked by that comment, that the only reason you went to Harvard is because you were black and an athlete?
I did not say that. I said, did that end up being one of the reasons? I do not know that. I asked him this. I asked him this.
Okay, all right.
I don't mind answering.
Gentleman doesn't answer the question. Sorry, I was reading a note here, so I didn't hear what was.
I apologize, and I'll reframe.
The gentleman from Iredell is no longer recognized. For what purpose, the lady from Wake, Representative Gill, rise. Representative Jones, do you still have the floor, sir, to debate?
I was trying to wrap up.
Gentleman has the floor to wrap up his remarks.
Okay. I just want to say that I'm just going to say one thing. Harvard had 5 rankings for their students. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And when I graduated from Harvard, I was in rank 2. So I earned my place, and I did well. Now,
Members, we're going to move now to House Bill 823. There is a PCS to the bill. Representative Torbett moves the PCS be before the committee. Without objection, the PCS is before the committee. Representative Loftus, the gentleman is recognized to speak to the PCS.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a Choose Your School, Choose Your Future bill. It expands the opportunity scholarships for children across North Carolina. It has provisions based on the federal poverty level guidelines, and it is very, very well written, I think, and it provides opportunity for verification for students that may want to enroll. I'd ask for your support.
Representative Clements.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative Loftus. I noted we heard this bill in education several weeks ago and then are just hearing it in rules today. And I noted that the appropriations was removed. Can you tell us why and what the impact of that is?
Not being the primary sponsor, I do not know why. Maybe staff possibly could help us with that.
Okay.
Are there any members of staff who are equipped to answer the question? Karen McCraw, you here? Lady will. And actually, lady can come up to the podium if you want to, rather than have to hold your computer at the same time.
Karen McCraw, LED. Because I believe where the budget process is at this time, the appropriations were removed. That would ultimately have to be reconciled in the budget process. But because the House budget has already moved, it would not be able to be enacted as is without being a part of the budget process.
Thank you. One follow-up question.
Representative Clements.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Loftus, is there anything in the bill to prevent private schools from increasing their tuition by the amount? So if it's $4,000 that the state would be giving a family, to prevent private schools from just increasing their tuition that amount?
Not that I read in the bill particularly. Okay. I think it would look terribly bad on the school who took advantage to raise that tuition.
Yeah, I agree.
I think most people would be well aware that they chose to do that to take advantage of that, but it's not To my knowledge, it's not specifically identified like that.
Okay, thank you, Representative Loftus.
Yes.
Members, is there further discussion or debate? Representative Torbett, the gentleman's recognized.
Or motion, Mr. Chairman.
Members, is there further discussion or debate on the bill? Seeing none, Representative Torbett moves for a favorable report to the PCS to House Bill 823, unfavorable to the original bill. All those in favor will say aye. All those opposed, no.
No.
The ayes have it. The bill receives a favorable report.
Thank you. Thank you, committee.